friends, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you everything that I read in the month of March. Looking at my bullet journal here, I read a ton of books. I think I read 9 different things in March, but I didn't really actually read that much. I read quite a few short stories in March. I listened to 3 audiobooks, and so I didn't do a lot of physical reading of very large books, but I did complete 9 things. So let's go ahead and talk about what those 9 things are. So the first thing that I read in March was King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This book I have done an entire book talk on. Is spoilery, so if you've read the book and you want to hear my really in-depth thoughts, I will link that video on the screen up here. In general, I was pretty let down. More things upset me than were fulfilling, I guess you could say. This is the first book in the Nikolai duology, following Nikolai, who is a character that you meet in the original Grisha trilogy, and it's supposed to be following his exploits as he finds his place in the royal hierarchy of Ravka. However, this book is a 3-perspective book. We also follow another character from the original Grisha trilogy, Zoya, as well as a character from Six of Crows, Nina. And I just really felt that Nikolai got lost in the shuffle. His story got lost in the shuffle. His voice was not nearly as strong, impactful, and as empowering as Zoya's was, and I felt like Nina felt very out of character. Zoya was a standout star of this book. I really wish it could have been maybe Zoya's book rather than Nikolai's book, because it really didn't feel like a Nikolai book, and I really didn't feel that connected or invested in Nikolai's storyline. In the end, I ended up giving King of Scars a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I completed in March was 12 by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a novella, a part of the Naturals series, which is one of my favorite series. I absolutely love it. It's this YA murder mystery, kind of Criminal Minds-esque style. This was this I almost said cute. This is not cute. This short story that takes place several years after the events of the final book. All the characters are adults now, and they're on the hunt for more natural people like themselves. They call themselves the naturalists. There's this young girl who is standing on top of a lighthouse who witnessed a crime. Nobody believes her. They believe it was a suicide, and she was like, I'm gonna jump off this lighthouse if you don't listen to me, because this person is going to end up continuing to kill people. They call in the naturalists, and we get to see a mini version of one of the books. There's this mini murder mystery. It had the exact same feel and plot setup and same devices, same structure as the books, just in a shorter, more condensed version. I absolutely love this series, and this just felt like I was walking right back into that world. It felt so authentic to the original 4 books. I wish this was a full-length novel. It really did what it was trying to do very well in the number of pages that it was, and I didn't feel like anything lackluster, and I didn't feel like it was too short or anything. I just really loved it, and I wanted more, and I just want more books in the series. So I wish this would have been a full-length novel, but it didn't do anything inherently wrong either. I just implore you all to please read the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've done a whole series review on it if you want to check it out. I just love it so much, and I loved being back with these characters, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. So the next 2 books I'm going to kind of talk about together as a unit, because I read them, or I listened to them back to back, and they are part of the same series. The first being Blue Lily Lily Blue by Maggie Stievfater, and the second being The Raven King by Maggie Stievfater. It's Maggie Stievfater. These are books 3 and 4 in the Raven cycle, so the penultimate and the conclusion, and I have pretty much the same feelings for both of these books as I've had for the last 2 books that I've read in the series. I do think that Blue Lily Lily Blue was my favorite of the 3 books, or of the 4 books. I don't know why, but looking back on it, if I had to pick a favorite, I think I would pick that one. Even though I don't remember anything being particularly stand out about it, but I felt like it was the most mysterious, the most supernatural, the most intriguing of the 4 books, and I mean, it really wasn't even that intriguing. I just have really lukewarm feelings towards the series in general. I didn't like it, I didn't hate hate it. I didn't love it. Like, it happened, it was a moment in time, and it's over, and I don't really have any connection or pull towards the characters. I didn't like emotionally connect with them. I don't love this group of friends as much as like pretty much everybody else does. I just feel very like meh about the whole thing. Like, I could have done without reading it. Didn't end up doing anything for me. In general, the fourth book is not well received by people in general. Like, it didn't really fulfill a lot of people's wishes for the series, but like, I really didn't fulfill mine, and I really just didn't care. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I don't even remember really what happened in either of these two books. I can't really tell you my specific feelings. I did listen to both of these on audiobook, and I do feel like the narration is very suited to the story. It's very lyrical, it's very whimsical, it feels very atmospheric to the story, but it wasn't like anything spectacular. I ended up giving the third book 3 out of 5 stars and the fourth book 2.75 out of 5 stars. So the fifth thing that I read in March was Undying by Amie Kaufman and Meagan Spooner. This is the second and final book in the Unearthed duology. I read Unearthed last year, and I kind of had the same issues with Undying that I had with Unearthed. Unearthed took me quite a while to read. I had a hard time getting through the first half or so, but then once I got to the halfway point, the story just like springboards, and it becomes this incredibly fast-paced, entertaining, just gripping story, and the ending of the first book is just mind-blowing. Similarly, the second book had a really slow beginning. I struggled through a lot of the beginning of the second book, and I really hate it when you end the first book with a lot of action, with, you know, a very climactic scene, and then the second book starts off and you're like in this really slumpy, boring transition period to get to more action. I did really enjoy the ending though. It like really picked up towards the end, and it definitely went in a direction that I was not expecting. The thing that happened at the end of the first book, and I was like, man, that is crazy. You know, it blew my mind. But then it picked up, and the way that things were revealed, I was very much not expecting. It took directions that I didn't see coming. We follow Mia and Julian. Mia is a illegal scavenger who gets sent to an alien planet to retrieve alien tech so she can bargain it for her sister's life. Her sister works in like this prostitution club. And then Julian is the son of a scholar who translated this message from the alien planet and then kind of went insane afterwards and has basically ruined his reputation. So his son Julian is trying to restore his father's name. He travels to the alien planet as well in order to do like an archaeological mission. Mia and Julian end up meeting up under some tense circumstances on the alien planet and have to work together to get off the planet and return to Earth. The movie rights have been purchased by a studio. This I feel like will be way better in movie viewing format than in book format. It suits the film format so well. It's something that's very popular in film right now, and I just feel like this will be so good. It's like Indiana Jones meets Temple Run meets Lara Croft. As a whole, wasn't everything that I wanted from like the series in general, but I still really enjoyed both of these books. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The sixth thing that I read in March was Fracture Me by Tahereh Mafi, which is novella 2.5. It's a novella between Unravel Me and Ignite Me. I finished Unravel Me probably about this time last year. Like, it's been probably a solid year, and I'm reading Fracture Me and I'm like, what is happening? I was so confused because it's like this very climactic sequence of events that's happening, and it seems incredibly prudent to the plot, and I was very confused why this would not have just been at the end of Unravel Me. And like, it was one of those stories where I was like, this seems like really important, why is it not in the book? But back and read the end of Unravel Me, and Unravel Me is obviously a first-person story following Juliet. So we follow the events of what happens to Juliet at the end of the book, but she gets separated from the main cast of other characters, so we don't find out what's going on with them. So this was the chance to see what the other characters were doing in lieu of Juliet getting separated from them. So it's told from Adam's point of view. And Adam is a trash can dumpster fire. I do not like him. This really just affirmed that I do not like him. This was a painful thing to read. I was just annoyed constantly with every page I read, every word I read, because Adam is the worst character ever, and I feel like this was probably the point where Tahereh Mafi was really trying to like bury his character and just make him the most awful human being she could, and I feel like she succeeded because I finished this novella just being angry more than anything. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I really did not care for this at all. The next thing that I read in March, so many things that I read in March, was My Favorite Half Nightstand by Christina Lauren. If you've been here on my channel for a while, you probably know that I am trash for Christina Lauren. They're my favorite new adult, or adult, I don't know what you would technically classify these as, romance writers. I will say though, as the newer books are being published, they're definitely taming down their content. Like if you go back and read the Wild Seasons series versus, say, My Favorite Half Nightstand, the content is a lot less explicit here, and I feel like it's because they're becoming more popularized and they're trying to appeal to a larger demographic, like more audience members, and not everybody wants to read very graphic sex scenes. There are still sex scenes in here, but there are not nearly as many as in, say, Sweet Filthy Boy. Excuse me, I just burped. In this book, we're following Millie, who works at a university and has this incredible group of professor, university, like teacher friends, and I loved the friend group so much in this book. And there is a gala coming up in the next couple of months in the book. All decide to join an online dating app, try to find dates to this gala. It just so happens that Millie's dating profile, which was terrible, so she makes a new one. The new profile that she has created under like a false identity of sorts gets matched with Reed's. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with like the catfishing element of this book because Millie knew it was Reed and she doesn't come out immediately and tell him in person, and that is a huge driving force for the rest of the plot. It didn't really bother me too much. Like, obviously, inherently, I know it's wrong, and I wouldn't do this in real life, and I wouldn't recommend anybody else do it in real life, but for the purposes of a fictionalized character and a story, I was highly entertained, and I loved their chemistry, and I loved Reed. Reed is such a sweet, perfect, beautiful little boy, and I love him so much. He's like such a nice, successful, kind person, and I loved him and Millie together, and I just really, really loved this book, just like I've loved every other Christina Lauren book. I can't recommend their books enough. They're fantastic. And I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So the 8th thing that I read in March, we're almost done, The Lost Sisters by Holly Black. This is a novella for the Folk of the Air series. So it comes between The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. And this is like a letter format from the perspective of Taryn, who is Jude's twin sister. And so it's a lot of different scenes from The Cruel Prince retold from Taryn's perspective so that you can understand and see like why Taryn made the choices that she made, and she's trying to apologize in a really roundabout way for her behavior to Jude. I just didn't really understand the point of this either. It was kind of like an attempt at a redemption arc for Taryn, but I've read The Wicked King, so I don't know why she would attempt to redeem Taryn based on what Taryn does in The Wicked King, because she doesn't like suddenly become a better person or anything. Did give more insight into Taryn's character because The Cruel Prince is told from Jude's perspective, but like I didn't care about Taryn. I didn't care about her reasons for why she did things. She's just kind of a really crappy sister and really treats her sister poorly, and I don't know why we have to read from her perspective or try to redeem her in any way. So again, this was another novella that I was pretty underwhelmed by, and it was nothing extraordinary, and I gave it 2 stars. The final thing that I read this month, though, we're ending it off on a bang, was Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. I loved this. This is book 1 in the Themis files, which is a trilogy about this young girl who falls into a hole one day and discovers a metal hand. Decades later, she ends up working at a university studying the hand because they happen to find another body part elsewhere in the world, and they're trying to figure out what this hand is, where it came from. It's made of this really mysterious material, and along the way they pull in a bunch of different characters from different countries, from different scientific backgrounds, from the military, and it's told in a dossier interview format, and I loved this. Had a feeling that I knew I would because it's always compared to Illuminae, and it's always said that if you like Illuminae, you probably should check out Sleeping Giants because they're pretty similar, and if you like one, you probably like the other. I would agree. If you like one, you will probably like the other. They have a similar storytelling format. They're both told in like this collection of documents, although Sleeping Giants is way more interview-based, or all interview-based, where there's like a larger variety of document types in Illuminae, but they're both science fiction. I had the best time listening to this audiobook. The audiobook was so well produced. It's a full cast of characters. They all have these really amazing vocal talent. I just really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so good. The actual book and the audiobook were both just so good. And those were all the books that I read in March. If you've read any of these books, please tell me what your thoughts were in the comments down below. I would love to discuss the books with you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I will talk to you very soon. Bye!